George, Johnny.
To fight in the war. Now, Waterloo Bridge back here was built entirely by women. Now, the thing was, in London at the time, a lot of people had old-fashioned views, very bad views, and they thought this bridge isn't going to get done in time because there's not the experience or the expertise to get it done by the Tudors. I'll tell you about that. Waterloo Bridge opened up in 1943. That's when they cut the red ribbon. It's the one bridge in London completed ahead of schedule and under budget. Read into that what you like. My mum's favourite story of the tour. That's it. Just to the right of that bridge, we're getting towards us now. We get to that kind of bridge with the black panels across the top. We all see that bridge? Lovely. So that's Blackfriars Bridge. It's a functioning train station. I got into London with Blackfriars Bridge this morning. Trains go into the middle of it, people get off, people get on, trains go on. Solar panels at the top there power about half of the bridge's electricity needs. So it's all very futuristic. I'm actually going to be telling you about a kind of old London story. Just to the right of the bridge. If you look to the right of the bridge, there's about 3 white cranes in a row. And to the right of these white cranes, there's a low church spire with a pointy top. Do we see that church spire? Yeah, a couple of us, lovely. That there is St. Bride's Church. It's very important in our history because of a baker. A couple of you might have been on other London tours and heard about a baker before, because it was a baker who burned down our entire city. Different baker we're talking about though. This baker lived 50 years after the Great Fire of London. His name was William Rich. He was, ironically, incredibly poor. And he managed to get himself apprenticed to the best baker in all of London. Now, like you do when you start a new job, William kind of kept his head down, tried not to make much of a fuss, and tried to stay sensible, not make any mistakes. Until one day this baker comes in with his daughter, and William immediately fell in love. At the time, marrying someone way richer than you, big taboo, not the done thing. So William realises, I've got to really, really impress this baker if I'll be allowed to marry his daughter. So what he does, he thinks of a plan, a bit of a crazy plan. He thinks, I'm going to make the best wedding cake the world has ever seen. That way this guy's going to let me marry his daughter. I'll be so impressed. At the time, wedding cakes were one layer. They sometimes had mincemeat, they sometimes had fish. A couple of disgusting faces, as usual. Yeah. Now, what William did was he thought, oh, there's got to be a better way. And he thinks of how to make a new way. And he stumbles out in front of that church spire, looks up at it, and says, Eureka, I've got it. Have a look at the church spire. At the base of it, kind of thick, whitish cylinder. Next tier up, slightly thinner white cylinder stacked on that. Third tier up, a final thinner white cylinder. Could anyone tell me what that shape might remind you of? Wedding cake, there we are. You can go into St. Bride's Church. The great grandson of William Rich works there still. He will produce documents from the museum in the basement that claim to genuinely prove the wedding cake that we all know, that 3-tier wedding cake, comes from the church spire back there. It's good, isn't it? Yeah. Oddly enough, I'll be coming back to the wedding cake at the end of the tour. But first we're going to talk about Tower Bridge over this. Not Tower Bridge, ignore me totally, I'm good at my job. Millennium Bridge. It's the sort of thin silver one with the people walking across. Have you seen Millennium Bridge? Yeah. Lovely. Now this is my favourite bit of the tour. This is where the audience interaction comes in. Reminds me, do you like audience interaction? Yes. He said, clearly infused. When Millennium Bridge opens, it was the year 2000. Millennium means 1,000 years, so Millennium Bridge. When it opened up, people were really, really excited. It was a new bridge on the river. It hadn't been one in ages. On that first day, loads of people gathered, really, really excited to walk across the bridge. And they walked across it for the first time. It broke immediately. The reason for this is a fact of physics and a fact of psychology that the architect failed to consider. It's a fact that those of us who are able are going to demonstrate together right now. On the count of 3, we're going to pretend we're walking across a bridge. Sounds strange, but the point will become clear. 1, 2, 3, there we are. We're walking. We love audience interaction. It's our favourite thing. We're getting involved. We're loving it. It's fantastic. Woo! And that's good. You can continue if you like. But the very key point. When people walk in big groups, they sync their footsteps, like we did just then. And what happens? Loads of people sync their footsteps on Millennium Bridge. It shattered the foundations entirely. Yeah, very important point. The architect of the Shard did consider this. Everyone is safe. Millennium Bridge, not so much. Went very up and down, for example. We spent 2 years fixing it. We spent millions and millions of pounds. We brought in the American Space Organization, NASA. 2 years later, it reopened. It should not be called Millennium Bridge, it should be called 2002 Bridge. A final thing on the bridge. Is anyone here a fan of Harry Potter? Good, great. But you'll like this. So 29 years ago, there was a young student, young boy. His name was Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe went to school just on the right of Millennium Bridge, at that low red brick building behind it. When Daniel went to school, when he was a student here, he was always told, you don't focus hard enough, you're not trying hard enough, you're never going to amount to anything. Now, about 15 years later, Daniel Radcliffe filmed one of the key scenes, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, on Millennium Bridge, in front of his school where he was told he'd amount to nothing. He got paid 22 million. Just behind Millennium Bridge.
So what, to the left of it?
Yeah, just the left of it. Low red brick building. It's called City of London School. That's it. And we'll come one more bridge along. We get to that bridge with the green outskirts. We see that bridge? Lovely. This is called Southwark Bridge. For this bridge, I've got some Shard inside gossip. A tall guy colleagues here. You might have seen him about. He wears this insane hat. He came into work 20 minutes late one day around September. That's normal, because in London there's often transport strikes. That can happen. And he comes in late, and he explains himself. He says, sorry I'm late, guys. And we say, don't worry, Zia, it's fine. He explains, sorry guys, I got stuck behind some sheep. Now, some of you might have walked around central London. There's not a lot of sheep, except for one day of the year, where on Southwark Bridge back there, they have the Great Sheep Drive in the City of London, where people dressed in big red coats take up a staff and take a bunch of sheep through the middle of central London over Southwark Bridge. Get to that site, and they have sheep shearing competitions. It's true. They show off rare breeds of sheep, and we have celebrity guests. So we've had Take That, we've had the Black Eyed Peas, and we've had Mary Berry. Now, think about this, you can actually go yourselves. It's really nice. The reason for it, supposedly the tradesmen of the City of London have the right to march their sheep through the city. The real reason is to raise money for charity. Once a year, it's a lot of fun. You can go there, it costs £5, and if you struggle with sleep, it's really fantastic. Because you can just count the sheep, one after the other, after the other. And that's comedy gold, if I'm mistaken. One more bridge along, we get to that bridge with the railway track across the top. We all see that bridge. Lovely. That's Cannon Street Railway Bridge. It is the worst bridge in London. Can we get a boo for Cannon Street? Thank you, thank you. The reason I say that, I'm a talker. That bridge doesn't have many interesting stories. It's so boring. If you go on Wikipedia, go to a section entitled Fun Facts. It is written word for word. Cannon Street Railway Bridge runs perpendicular to the Thames. If you process what those words mean, that means the river goes across and the bridge goes over. That is what a bridge is. Any bridge that doesn't go perpendicular to the Thames will be a stick floating along the river. There's one redeeming feature. One redeeming feature. Before the Second World War, it had a gorgeous stained glass roof, like you'd find in a church. It showed scenes of English history. Really nice. The nicest part of the bridge by ages. During the war, they were terrified that the roof would get destroyed, get a bomb dropped on it, shatter into little glass pieces. So what they did, took the roof, sailed it way out on the Thames, all the way out to Berkshire, which is the countryside west of London. Now throughout the war, by a kind of miracle, Cannon Street Railway Bridge did not get bombed. Most of London did, so this was really lucky. What was less lucky? There was a small storage facility in rural Berkshire that got bombed, so we lost the roof anyway. Ironically so. I know, yeah, that's it. Now, got two final bridges to talk about, but just before we move over to the north side, has anyone got any questions about the view behind me or the Shard itself? Westminster Abbey, what you want to do, basically, see where the London Eye is. Just to the left of it, you've got the Houses of Parliament, it's sort of spiked buildings. And just behind the middle bit of the House of Parliament, right in the middle of the complex, there's a slightly lighter shade of stone, and that there's Westminster Abbey. Yeah, when the Queen died, it's fascinating to come up here, because people queued 20 hours to pay respects to the late Queen. And you can literally see this thing winding throughout the river, going all the way to Westminster Abbey. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And my favourite part of when the Queen died was in St James's Park, just behind the London Eye. We had a massive parade of corgis. Because everyone who was a corgi owner bought their dogs out, because Queen Elizabeth loved corgis, and there was kind of hundreds and hundreds of corgis in front of Buckingham Palace. Sounds sweet, it was absolute chaos. Now, two final bridges to talk about, and they're both on the north side, so if you'd all like to follow me over this direction. Really sorry guys, we're making that use as much space as possible. If you want to sort of gather over this way. There we are. So, two final bridges to talk about in front of what is called the City of London, which sounds confusing because all of this city is London, but there's a district or borough in the middle of London where all the skyscrapers are. That's our financial district, that's the City of London. Now the one that stands out the most to me, this building here with the funny shape and the white outskirts. Does anyone know the name of this building? Sort of funny shape here and the white outskirts. Walkie-talkie, exactly. So that building there, Londoners have nicknamed the walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Now in London we like a nickname. We're standing in what's called the Shard. Just behind the walkie-talkie we have the cheese grater. We've got the walkie-talkie back there. Now here's my thing. This here, this is a walkie-talkie. This, to me, is an air conditioning unit. Possibly a dehumidifier. I fully do not accept it as a walkie-talkie. But it's what it's nicknamed. Now when the walkie-talkie opened, it used to be made of glass. So light would shine in, through the back and out the front and become wonderfully condensed. Very beautiful, very bright light shining out. This was very nice until someone parked their brand new Jaguar in front of the walkie-talkie. It's melted by the rays of the sun. I know. Now, Londoners heard about this, and they marched down there to Fenchurch Street where this happened. And they brought with them pans and oil and eggs, and they made breakfast. This gives me a sense of pride. Now, today the walkie-talkie no longer burns cars, unfortunately, but you can go and visit the Sky Garden. It was quite nice, worth doing. But we'll move on to our final two bridges. To check everyone's paying attention, I'm going to come at you now with a quiz question. I'm going to give you three names for this bridge here. And you'll put your hand up when you hear the correct name for this bridge here. Is this bridge named Southwark Bridge? Good. Is it named Bridgie McBridgeface? My favourite joke on the tour. If only, if only. Is it named London Bridge? A few hands have shot up, and I have tricked you. Tower Bridge over here always gets confused with London Bridge, hundreds and hundreds of times a day. The reason for that, I tend to think, is that London Bridge sounds really famous. And there's this nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down. Tower Bridge is the most iconic bridge. London Bridge, it's a rebuild from the 70s. They knocked down the old, much nicer one, and the architects in the 70s liked concrete and grey and sadness. So we have London Bridge here. What didn't help this? One of my own personal heroes, her name was Fergie from the band The Black Eyed Peas, released a song in 2005 named London Bridge. And Tower Bridge is where she filmed the music video, making it worse for us tour guides. But Fergie, God bless her, was not the first to make this mistake. In the 1970s, an American businessman supposedly spent millions and millions of pounds on London Bridge, thinking it was Tower Bridge. Now, it's worth saying, this is something of a myth. British taxi drivers love to tell it, but Robert McCulloch, this businessman, knew what he was buying. He did an ingenious thing. Took all the bricks that used to be here, of the much nicer old historic London Bridge, sailed them across to the United States. Got into the harbour at New York. Yeah, that's it. Said, I've got all the bricks of London Bridge. And they responded, we've got lots of bricks already in New York. Have some customs tax. And he quite brilliantly didn't really fancy paying the customs tax. Got back on his boat with his bricks, sailed round all the way to San Francisco in California. Got in there and had quite a brilliant idea. He said, right guys, aboard this boat I've got lots and lots of British antiques. They thought that sounded really fancy. He saved hundreds of thousands of dollars bringing all these things in. Now some of you might have come from quite a long way away expecting to see the historic London Bridge in London. It is in Arizona, in the middle of the United States. Apologies. Now, I saved the best till last. Tower Bridge, over this way. Has anyone here done the Tower Bridge experience? Oh, that's very good.
Yeah,
you have. Oh, right. Do you want to watch a bit at the top? Enjoy? Ah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, up to it. If you haven't, it's really good. You pay to go up the towers, and you walk across the blue bit at the top, which connects the towers. And when you do this, there is glass beneath your feet. Yeah. Some of you might be a bit like me, slightly nervy around heights. Yeah. When I did this, I was feeling really terrified. And there was a child, about yay high, who saw that I was scared and gave me what I thought was a kind of sympathetic look and started jumping up and down on the glass there. I've done it 3 times, that has happened every time. They sense fear. Now, best thing about Tower Bridge. Have people here seen it open up? Good, a few of us, nice to see. If you haven't, it's really good. It opens up like a drawbridge, both sides come up, and big boats come through. Today you can find it online. So you can go online, and it'll tell you what time it's going to open up, and you can plan your visit. Historically, it was the job of a guy with a bell. This guy would stand on Tower Bridge, look out for big boats, and ring his little bell when he saw these boats. That way traffic would know you've got to stop, because the bridge is about to open up. It's an easy job. One day this guy forgot to do his job. There's a man named Albert Günther. Albert Günther was the driver of a double-decker bus, full of people. And as he came across, the bridge lifted underneath him. I like to defer to the audience. If you're the bus driver, what would you do? Stop. Wise, yeah. Jump. Brave, like it. Reverse, yeah, that's the one I hear the most.
If in doubt, flat out.
Yeah, that's the way. As it happened, Albert Günther did that. Albert Günther put his foot on the accelerator and tried to jump the bridge.
Bad move.
He made it.
Oh, did
He did, yeah. Got there to the other side. Everyone else was okay. He'd actually hurt his leg from pushing so hard. He goes off to hospital for a bit and gets back to talk to his boss at the bus office. When he does this, he thinks to himself, I'm probably going to be fired because of those people I endangered. He speaks to his boss, and his boss gives him 2 weeks off and a pay rise.
Oh, wow.
The reason is, if he'd have reversed, he might have hit the people behind him. By jumping across, he actually saved everyone on that bus, no one got hurt. And more to the point, he didn't know about it, he had become a national celebrity whilst he was in hospital. 2 years later, he married the bus conductress who was on the bus that day. On their wedding cake,
And a bus.
they had the bus jumping Tower Bridge to the other side at the time. Oh, there, yeah. It's a nice place to round off the tour. Final thing to say. I'm always competing against my tour guide colleagues, who are the other people wearing this hat. You see little iPad things about the place, some smiley faces. They're for reviews. My name is George. Young tour guide is fine. I prefer the term prodigy. And if you could leave a few lines about how I've changed your life, that'd be much appreciated. If you've really enjoyed it, you can go to TripAdvisor, where my mum reads all of my reviews.
Oh.
Please don't slate me on there. You've been a lovely audience.
What's your mum's name?
Gail.
Okay.
Can address her, yeah. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.